Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Forrest Waffle here, and it is time to have a serious talk. Now, this is stemming from things that I've seen on Twitter, and I feel like it's time. I've been a supporter of a number of VTuber content creators over the past 1 or 2 years, and I feel like it's time we finally talk about the do's and don'ts of being a VTuber supporter. And this is things that I've seen on YouTube and Twitter. Okay, so I feel like it's necessary to talk about it. Now, as you all know, I have been Now, as you just heard, I've been a VTuber supporter for about 1 to 2 years. But the supportive side of me have come out in the last 6 or so months, mainly around that time because I've started to follow other VTubers and I wanted to and I've wanted to show support toward people that I feel like I could be friends with, right? So, and based on what I've experienced on that side, on the Twitter side, because of course it's got to be on Twitter, right? But on the Twitter side, but a little bit on the YouTube side of things, I've noticed a few things that have happened that honestly have made me mad, and I feel like it's time we talk about it. How to be a good VTuber supporter without sounding in any way, shape, or form disrespectful, creepy, or in any other way that is not good. Okay? So let's get the obvious do out of the way, and that is to be respectful toward others. Nobody would want other people to be disrespectful to them, obviously. I would not want anybody to be disrespectful toward me, and I'm pretty sure anybody that is watching this video, whether it's live or on VOD, would not want to have somebody disrespect them, right? We all know this is common sense, but I've seen it happen so often that it's not even funny. But it's so common sense, but the fact that people want to believe that it's okay to be disrespectful towards someone, and I want to get to the more serious side of the disrespectful nature things in a later bit here. But for the common sense type of stuff, it's obvious that you should never, ever, ever, ever be disrespectful toward anybody in any way, shape, or form. It's common sense, it's basic knowledge. And anybody who wants to disrespect others for one reason or another might as well just go back to preschool because obviously you're still a child in an adult's body. And if you're a young kid who is doing this, yeah, you guys still have a little bit more to learn before you venture off into the real world. For the teenagers who are about to be adults, and for the little kids, I can kind of forgive you because you're still learning about the basics of life, but it's still in some ways still not an excuse to explain why you act like this. That leaves me to another point, a big don't that I've been hearing about for these 18 plus VTubers. If you are a minor, do not interact with adult VTubers. Even those that are just saying 18 plus, but they're say so. Do not ever interact with them for obvious fucking reasons. Because you, even if you are a good person and you are not trying to get anybody in trouble, that could still get the adult in trouble because in this day and age, we adults have to be careful with how we act or say, with what we say or how we act toward children, because somebody on the internet can post something taken completely out of context, and the adults will more than likely get in trouble. That's why we tell kids don't usually interact with us, because we don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, you may have the best of interests in heart and you're trying to act in such a way, but if we act in a different way, that could get us in hot water. So don't ever interact with adults if you are a minor, whether it's a VTuber or otherwise. Don't ever do it. And especially, don't ever try to do any kind of adult role play with adults. And if you are a minor, for the love of God, just keep yourself safe. Do not interact with people that you don't know. Because the person you're talking to, some of these VTubers that I've seen have had to make this don't known. So many of them that I feel like it's necessary for it to be talked about right now. That's why when people say 18 plus minors DNI, DNI means do not interact. That's what it's short for. Do not interact, which means if you are 17 and younger, and you see a person's Twitter saying "do not DNI," that tells you, okay, since I'm a minor, I'm 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, whatever. I won't be able to interact with them because then I will be blocked if I do. With a number of these people. Now, for me personally, I don't mind, and I want to say this really, really well, and I want to say this in a way where nobody can try to spin it. If I'm going to interact with minors, it's going to be in a way where I'm going to try to help them with life, give them advice, whatever. They need it. If anybody needs any advice, I will give it to them. Anything outside of that is going to be a big no-no from me. I'm going to say that right here, right now. So that way nobody can try to spin it in a way where I'm making myself look bad. Because I really do feel like there are people that need to learn life lessons, even adults. Adults and kids alike need to learn about this sort of thing. And yes, there are VTubers that are actual minors as well. And you guys have known about my experience with what some of you guys may know my experience with one of them. And that was on me, not them, but that was because something was taken completely out of context by somebody. And me and this other person worked it out, and as far as I'm concerned, we're fine. Nothing bad has come out of it. We're still friends. We're still friends, and that's all that needs to be said about it. I will tell you right now, I know my place as an adult. I know not to mess with minors in that regard. In the very regard. Any other regard is okay, but in a sexual manner, no. You will never see me interact with somebody. Even in role play, I would never do that. Now, with that being said, I got the biggest do and the biggest don't out of the way. What is another do? Another do is to be nice and friendly and supportive. I'm pretty sure I just said that with the first bit. But that's kind of being respectful. But here, you should always treat people with kindness, generosity, and friendliness. As long as you feel like they earned it. If you don't believe they earned it, then don't interact with them anymore. Instead of trying to paint them in a negative light, just don't interact with them anymore. Move on with your life, and don't try to start drama, which is something the internet is known for. People have a tendency to incite drama for absolutely no reason other than because, well, I'm hiding behind the power of anonymity, so I can start some shit, or I'll try to get somebody to start some shit. That's not going to happen. That's not going to work. I can tell you that right now. If somebody is smart enough, they will not fall for that bullcrap. They won't ever fall for it. Now, with the second biggest don't, please, for the love of God, alongside trying not to, with minors not interacting with adult VTubers, for the love of God, for all the adults who are interacting with other adult VTubers, Twitter is not a dating site, so don't ever think that you can DM a VTuber thinking that you will have a shot at them, especially considering the fact that you have never personally met the person, and chances are You probably never will. And I said probably because you never know that you might run into that person here or there, at least at one point in your life. But at the end of the day, you're not going to really interact with them. 9 out of 10 chances are in a friendly manner. So just don't do that. And I've seen this happen more times than I would like to admit, really. I've seen so many of my VTuber friends say about how they have been DM'd by different people. Like even if it's in simple role play, like they will be given DMs that made them feel uncomfortable, or if it's being from somebody that thinks they have a shot at them. You want to know how many of these VTubers that I know of that are taken that are still to this day getting DMs from people because they still think they have a shot with somebody who is currently taken or somebody who will never meet them in life? Way too many of them. And I know the first one from experience. I know of at least one person in the top of my head, and as a matter of fact, it's because of this tweet that I seen on Twitter earlier today that made me want to make this live stream video. That's going to be a VOD. Yeah, I know of. Yeah, so what happened was of two people that I know of on Twitter made a tweet about the same situation. What happened was apparently some people have been trying to be friends with the boyfriend of the couple just so they could try to get into her DMs, aside from his, so they can try to have a shot at her and try to have her leave him for them. I've seen it from both, and I've heard of it from both of them. They both have talked about this. And that's why I made this video, because I feel like people need to understand that this is. Now, I've heard of online manipulation. I've heard of it, and I have personally seen it. I've yet to personally experience it, and I hope I never do. But this kind of online manipulation is the lowest form of manipulation I have ever seen in my entire life. To think that somebody could actually try to go and to pretend to be a friend of the boyfriend of the couple, but trying to secretly slide into her DMs, trying to get her to leave him for them. He even said, he's not mad that the boyfriend of the couple even said he's not mad that they try to use him, but he is very ticked off, and understandably so, I might add, that they were trying to use him to try to get to her and try to have her be with them and leave him for them. I know I messed up my wording there, but you get my point. To me, those type of people, I would, and I even said to the guy, I 100% agree with what he said. And being in his shoes, because I knew the two of them were together before I read the posts, even then, I would have been just as upset because, dude, that's the lowest form of manipulation anyone could probably go toward. Like, who in their right mind? Like, it's one thing to just be a little bit jealous about people, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're jealous or not, when you're thinking about trying to split these two people up who love each other very much. And you think it's a good idea to try to split them apart. But here's the problem. Try as you might, they're never going to split up. At least not in this point in time. And hopefully not ever. Because I respect every and all couples. But this is one that I had to talk about because this was the one that made me think of doing this video. So if they're watching this, I hope they have a good long. So if the two people involved if they're watching this, I'm not going to say them by name, to protect them because, they're like, well, it is important to learn about their life lesson. I'm not going to say their names because I am not going to have any single horny man out there try to harass the woman of the group of the couple. And if the two of them are watching this somehow, some way, let me just state for the record that I support you two. If you two are still together at the time of watching this, if you two still are together, I will support you, and I hope you guys have a happy and long life together. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say about it. But long story short, be respectful to somebody as well as in their personal life, and don't be an asshole to anybody, to any of their friends, family, or their significant other, loved one, whatever they want to call them. Right? Always be respectful to others, as you'd want to be respectful. You'd want them to respect your personal life. Simple, and it's not even, and it's not even hard to do. It's not. It's common knowledge to do this. But I digress. No one, because people like to hide behind anonymity on Twitter. That's how they are, and that's how they're going to continue to be, because they don't have the balls to go to the person's face, whether face to face on camera or actual face to face, and say it to their face. That's how it is. Another big dude that I could see being a VTuber supporter is basically, this is not a necessity, but if you can, be nice, and be supportive. It's like, always be supportive, because you never know when they're going to need the love and support. You never know when a VTuber is going to need the love and support from their fan base. You just never know. And if you're an asshole, saying some mean shit to somebody who's really at a low point in their life right now, that is going to do something to them that I would not want to happen to them. As I've said before on my channel, I've had friends who have contemplated suicide, and I've managed to hopefully talk them all out of doing it. I have talked to at least 3 people about suicide. The one that sticks with me the most will always be the one with the guy that I was in the call community with at the time, when I was a big community member. Like, not like big, but like, somebody that sometimes was good and other times had his moments of being an asshole, things like that. Um, Somebody was like, this person had a problem in a group chat that I was in, and he got kicked out of it because of that. So I went to him and I asked him what was going on, and he said, "Well, I lost my significant other. I forget if it was a girlfriend, fiance, or a wife, right?" And, he said he wanted to end his life, and I told him, I want you to switch places with your wife, okay?" Like, and I asked him what happened to his wife, like, what happened. And he said, she, he said that his wife passed away. And I said, well, let's put yourself in your wife's shoes. Let's say you passed away and your wife was still alive, and she was going through the same emotions that you're going through right now. Would you want her to do what you're thinking of doing? No. Exactly. And I'm on a bit of and I probably was a little bit too blunt with him saying this, and I said, but I told him, truthfully, I feel like if you were to do the deed, she probably would not welcome you with open arms. She would rather you live a happy life. She would still look down on you, being proud of whatever you accomplish in life. But to do this will probably make her feel sad that you did this because of her. Like, she would rather see you. I'm pretty sure any family members or friends that have died before anybody would be looking down on you and being proud of who you, like, they're looking down on you. And for the people who are in prison, they're probably looking down on them as long as they committed the crime. And for those who are wrongfully accused, they probably look down at them and be like, hopefully you get through this and you get out a free man. But for those not involved in the justice system, prison life, everybody that's doing good deeds, all the people, all the family members looking down, all the friends and family looking down on them, are probably happy and proud of what you have accomplished in your life. Even the smallest of things, from from getting that little raise at work, to doing your hardest to raise a family before they could see the children and their children's children. They will continue to look down on you. Every person that you've grown up with, family member or friend, will look down on you very happy and very supportive of what you've accomplished in your life. I know I went a bit off topic there, and I'm supposed to be talking about VTuber do's and don'ts, but I felt like that was necessary to talk about in this regard. Another don't that I've seen being done is, well, don't make somebody feel uncomfortable. Don't make a VTuber or anyone else feel uncomfortable. And I've seen this happen. Like, I've seen people who have DM'd not so kid friendly things, and they've talked, and the VTuber would talk about being sent something that they don't like. Like, they talked about being sent a message or a picture of things that made them feel uncomfortable. I've seen people send, posting pictures on Twitter talking about, DMs that were sent between them and this other person and how it escalated very quickly. Like, the best example I can give you, again, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want anybody harassing her about it. And, of course, it's going to happen on the female side, but still, while it might happen still on the male side, like always, it's more common on the female side of things. But what happened was a female VTuber that I know of, she was sent she and this person who she said was very nice when they first talked. She was asked, like if she wanted to hang out with him for a weekend. She said no because I'm busy, and this dude went from 0 to literally 100 very quickly. I'm not even going to discuss what he said. I'm not even going to say what he said. Mainly because A, I know that it was very, very, very disrespectful, and number 2, because I forgot half of the shit that he said. But let's just say she did not take too kindly with what he said. And I even made a PSA out, and I was like, men, never treat a woman like this, because a woman is not some lonely person you can mistreat. A woman is human just like you. And trust me, piss a woman off too much, and she will kick your ass. Oh yeah, yes she fucking will. She will kick your ass worse than you could even try to downplay her. Dude, seriously. So yeah, never be disrespectful to another VTuber. Obvious, and another thing, and this is on the VTuber side. Now, you guys know I talked about Azalea 22. And if you remember, there was a video that I made middle of last year. I think it was in the middle of last year. I think it was near the end of the first half or beginning of the second half of the year. And it was at a time when I heard that some dude was hitting on Azalea. Now, a little bit of backstory on Azalea. She is currently taken at the time of this video being made, and at the time she was taken as well. Right? So she was taken at the time, and she still is taken today. Okay? But because people like to hide behind the power of anonymity, I have seen and I have heard of people trying to hit on her. One person even tried to try to pretend to be Jeff Bezos and was trying to hit on her. And, I was mod for a day at the time, and I told him straight up, like, first of all, what's the word I'm looking for? No mimicking a famous person, even though Jeff Bezos at the time was involved in a lot of crap at the time. I think at the time. And number 2, no hitting on a person who you don't even personally know. Right? Like, dude, I cannot stress this enough. To hit on another human being that you've never known personally is the dumbest thing you could ever do. Because, dude, if you don't know the person personally, dude, just just don't try to act like you know who they are behind the scenes. Don't hit on them. Definitely not in public. Come on. Like, dude, if you are hitting on somebody, if you're going to try to hit on somebody, first of all, know them personally, and second of all, if they're taken, just don't do it. And if you're hitting on somebody who is ultimately your significant other in the same, you're both in the same chat room, and the person watching the live stream is saying, guys, can you take your flirtiness off the stream, please? Trying to keep this family friendly, just follow the streamer's wishes. It's common knowledge. It's so simple, but again, people like to hide behind the power of anonymity. So of course, they're gonna act like they don't know who they're talking to, and they don't know who they're talking about, unless they probably actually say the person's username and be like, "Hey, username 0001. Yeah, I don't appreciate you hitting on this person and they're telling you to stop, so just stop or you will be kicked out." Simple as it gets. And because of all that was happening last year, I actually made a rule on my channel. If anybody were to hit on somebody else, I would step in, the person told them to stop and they still want to keep at it, I will step in, I will time that person out for 5 minutes, and if that person still continues even once, hey, I'm gonna punch you like a football going into the field goal in the American football games. Da 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 da. But yeah, everything that I've said is common knowledge. It should be common knowledge. But this is the internet, and people love to hide behind anonymity to explain, well, I mean, yeah, this account was used, but it wasn't me at the time that was saying it, blah, blah. The age-old excuse. Like, how many people would you honestly, people want to use the age-old excuse, well, I didn't say it at the time, this other person did. My argument against people that use that excuse would be, so you really trust this person so much? So you really trusted this person so much that you would give your username and password to them? Even if you know them to be troublemakers, you would still give it to them? That would be my counter argument to people that would be like that. That try to use that as the age-old excuse. Like, seriously. And if they try to explain, if they try to say, what? Well, they don't act like that on my account when I'm around. then I'd be like, that's because you're trying to paint them in a negative light when you're the one that did it, more than likely. Yeah, so at the end of the day, just be nice, be respectful, don't hit on anybody. It's common knowledge. For the love of God, guys, be respectful. Just treat people how you would want to be treated. Would you want to be treated like shit? And another don't that just popped into my head. And even though we live in the day and age where we're supposed to be moving on from this, I'm surprised it still needs to be said, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I do have a bit of a cold, which is why I'm coughing a little bit. And that's why I wasn't streaming yesterday, because the cold was pretty bad compared to how it was today, by the way. But I want to say this right now. Do not ever disrespect another person because of what color their skin is, what they identify themselves as, or which gender, if not both or neither, they are into, as far as having a crush on, at least on a person goes. Okay? It's so fucking simple. Yet people want to act like they can get away with it because they're hiding behind the power of anonymity. But what they fail to realize is, push somebody's buttons enough and you might actually get found. As if as if a few people on TikTok haven't made that known yet. How it can actually be done, how we can find where you live by your account IP address if we were crazy enough to try to find it and call out on the people who are using the account and the IP address if people really want to go that deep. Long story short, just don't judge a book by its cover. Seriously. Oh, and also, don't judge a person's age by their height. It's stupid what I just said, I know, but I've seen people saying that. Oh, well, this person can't be this old. Why? Look how short they are. Seriously? Like, I know of a few VTubers that have said they are relatively small, but they're still adult, but they're at the adult age, at least around the adult age, and they're still being treated as if they're not adults because of their height. Two people that I know of were going to do that. The first was a person called NETF, who was quote unquote canceled because somebody was going off. Somebody tried to cancel her because apparently she was lying for about her age because of her height. Height has nothing to do with the person's age. The height, you know what has something to do with the person's age? Their birth date. And how many people are going to be dumb enough? Like, do you really, like, I can see some people being asshole enough to pretend to have their date of birth, but really, majority of the people on the internet are not dumb enough to pretend to be at an age. They're not dumb enough to pretend to be at an age that they're not. At all, right? The second person, I don't know if it was entirely them. Like, I know they were talking about it in some way, but I don't know if they were put in the same shoe. But another person is Mino Miyako, another friend of mine on the YouTube side of things. She is a short person, even said so herself a number of times. To the point to where I honestly consider her like a little sister, if I'm being honest with you. I don't even know how much shorter she is compared to me because I've never seen her in person. But if she's as small as she says she is, I honestly have considered her like a little sister, if I'm being honest with you. Just because I say that. I'm just saying, man. But either way, height has nothing to do with it. Don't judge a person by their height. Just don't. Just don't judge a person by their cover. Judge them based on the character they are and who they are as a person. Common knowledge, simple as it gets. Like, seriously, why am I even doing this video? Why am I doing a video of do's and don'ts of being a VTuber supporter when this shit should be common knowledge? What, do people just somehow, just like literally, take their brain out of their head and throw it out the window when they're on social media? Because apparently some people do. Like, seriously, it's stupid. It's so common knowledge to treat people with some dignity, respect, and, it's so obvious how to treat other people. But it's like people on social media just like tape their brains out when they use it and then just throw it out the window. Because apparently some people on the internet are dumb as rocks and they can't either be respectful toward other people or they don't want to be respectful because of somebody having a different opinion than them. Trust me, I've seen this happen on Facebook, Twitter, and on TikTok sometimes. And it's really stupid how where people are right in this regard. It's very, very messed up. It needs to stop. People need to grow up and stop acting like children. Because honestly, to me, I could see children being stupid on social media. I could see them being like that because they're kids. Kids don't know any better. Adults sure should have, but they somehow don't. Sometimes I feel like who's more the adults here, the kids? The current generation of kids that are growing up into adults? Or the adults themselves? Sometimes I wonder who's actually more the adults here. It's really sad when I'm saying that, and I feel like some kids of today are acting more adult than the adults themselves. Looking at you, all you Karens and entitled people. But yeah. These are, to me, the most obvious do's and don'ts of being a VTuber supporter. And if people cannot understand this, then I'm sorry to say this, but you are a lost cause. And you just need to get the hell off the internet. Because obviously you don't care about other people's boundaries. You don't care about, their their personal opinion. You don't care about them at all. If you're gonna act like basically an asshole toward them, toward any of them. Now, if they deserve to be called out, all right, fine. I think in some way, I wouldn't. If you feel like they deserve to be called out, then call them out. But don't be surprised if they decide to come back on you for what you're saying about them. True or not, don't be surprised when they do that. All right. Because trust me, there are so many people that don't take kindly to being called out on the internet, and they have to save face when they do. Whether they truthfully are innocent or not is a whole different story. But of course they have to save face in that regard. Everybody would do that, But the whole point of this video was to ensure that people understand the do's and don'ts of being a VTuber supporter. But the most important thing is to have fun with them. Be nice, be kind to one another. Don't treat each other with a very big level of disrespect. Just be nice and kind to one another. And if you can't stand each other, then just stop interacting with each other. Mute the accounts if you have to keep yourself away from them. Better than blocking them, that's for damn sure. Because honestly, to me, blocking is kind of a pussy way out, because you never know, you might actually be able to, work, you might be able to talk together again, sort your shit out. You might be able to, you never know, you might be able to sort your shit out at a future time. But yes, these are the basic do's and don'ts of VTubers, of being a VTuber supporter, I should say. And if I see any more, if I see any more do's and don'ts, there may be a sequel to this live stream. But yeah, this was a short video, but I wanted to do it live for people to see it firsthand what I'm talking about. With that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and I'll see you guys later. Until then, this is Forrest Walpole, signing off.